What's up, guys? Welcome to the first ever episode 54 of the Kind of Funny Gamescast. As always, I'm Tim Gettys, joined by the coolest dudes in video games, Colin Moriarty and Greg Miller. For some reason, it feels like it's been a long time since we've done this.
Well, the last one had Steve Gaynor on it, and we filmed that.
That's why. Yeah.
Was that we filmed? No, we filmed it after the live stream has screwed up the entire month.
Yeah.
It feels like we've done 2 months. It feels like it's already
We're
February.
in a time warp.
We are in a time warp.
It is really weird, though. I don't know if we'll ever get back to normal. I think this is normal for the rest of our lives.
This is the new normal? This is how it's going to feel all the time?
Yeah.
Ooh,
I was saying this to you earlier, but I really liked it. I came in this room today and I was like, Kevin, it's one of those days. And he goes, I think it's been one of those weeks. You know, come to think of it, it's been one of those months. Actually, it's been one of those years. And it's like, wow, that's quite accurate.
We push ourselves too hard because we love doing everything we do.
For all you big, beautiful kids out there. Yeah, coolest dudes. They're doing stuff. I'm back. We're doing stuff. Talking about video games. That is what the Kind of Funny Games cast is. If you want to get it early, you can go to patreon.com/kindoffunnygames. Throw dollars over there and things will happen to you. You get the show early. You can get, if there's a goal, you get Kevin a mic. You already hit that.
Yeah. You've probably put a new milestone up by then.
I don't know what it will be. We need to think about that. But it'll be fun.
$30,000 $30,000 a month, we stop. We just stop doing everything.
No.
Let's look at all the haters to give us money, and then we can just retire.
Oh man,
a steady stream of income to not make content.
Hater money is my favorite money.
The internet's better without you.
Pay us to not put up videos on YouTube.
Yeah. You can also go to youtube.com/kindoffunnygames to just get the show for free, as it's broken out topic by topic. The week after, you can get it for your money over at patreon.com/kindoffunnygames. Today I'm wearing glasses. You may have noticed that.
I did notice.
It's because my contacts, something's wrong with them.
What's wrong with them? They disappear?
Not clear. No, one of them just messed up and my eye felt like it was burning and had an STD.
Whoa.
And I was like, shit.
Are you putting lotion or the lotion?
Don't put lotion on the lenses.
No, I've never used contacts. You put them in Lubriderm, right? And then put them in your eyes?
You put them in something, yeah, but not that. I don't know what
saline.
it is. It's not
saline
quite water,
is what it is. It's
but
saline.
It's some other shit.
It's saline, I believe.
Yeah, it's like
saline.
Really expensive. Anyways, so today we're getting back to normal Gamescast. It's also been a while because we had guests, and before that we did the whole looking back at 2015 thing.
Oh, there you go.
And so it's like we've been doing a lot of topics that were just like, you know, lists and stuff like that. This is the normal show. Getting right into it. Topic 1 is, do you need to play a game to have an opinion on it? Now, this is based on a lot of the reactions I saw to the list content that we made over the last couple episodes of the Kind of Funny Gamescast, where we're talking about best games of 2015, what we're looking for in 2016, and all this stuff. And I'm not going to say everybody, but there was a fair amount of comments that were saying like, oh, well, if you haven't played this, you can't have an opinion on that game, or if you haven't beaten the game or whatever. Very similar to the conversation we had before about reviewing games, right?
Sure.
Everyone has their own way to do it, whatever. But I kind of want to get your guys' thoughts on if you're allowed to have an opinion on games.
I think so.
Played them.
I don't think it should be set in stone. You know, you hate a game or something to that extent. But I can look at a game that I haven't put, or that I've put no time into, and know if it's for me or not for me, right? Based on like maybe just the genre it is, right? Like, this is a little bit dodgy, I guess, because I guess so probably League, I guess. I've never played. I've only played and talked to people and seen stuff and da-da-da. I think Dota, Brian Albert let me play with him once and try to teach me. But I know based on my experience with Dota that League isn't for me, right? Like I have an opinion on that game in terms of my opinion being that everything I've read about it, you know, I can tell you that about its fan base, about its impact, about how important it is right now and stuff. I can tell you personally it isn't for me based on not having played it. I'm not going to sit down and play League, I don't think, and suddenly be like, oh, I was totally wrong. I just don't like MOBAs that much. You know what I mean? That's not for me.
Yeah, I think this goes back to, I think there's degrees of it, right? So if someone comes up to you and says, there's a game called X, and you're like, okay, you don't know anything about it. You know the title.
Xenoblade Chronicles on Wii U?
Exactly. Yeah, let's say, well, let's not say Xenoblade Chronicles, but let's say it's just, the game's just got a name, and all you do is, you know, the game's name is X, and that's it. Well, you can't really have an opinion at all about it because you just know the game exists, right?
Yeah.
But then they're like, oh, X is a side scroller. And you're like, okay. And they're like, X is a 2D side scroller with pixel art. What's so funny?
I'm sorry.
What?
Kevin looks like a gorilla over there with this book. He's slowly paging through it, but he's not reading it. And he's like turning it on its side and stuff. You're like Coco the monkey over there.
There's no words.
I love that Colin's like, I wouldn't say slowly, quickly broke there, where he's like
Colin
saying something.
knows.
He
I had the
sees,
giggles. I'm
he sees
sorry.
Greg's doing something. He's like,
I
all right,
broke.
fuck this. What, Greg?
I'm sorry. It wasn't on purpose.
Oh, I know. It never is. It never
This is what we do need to get him a curtain. He needs to be curtained off.
$25,000 goal on Patreon.
There you go.
Yeah.
Are you done?
I didn't mean to do it, Colin. Don't be mad.
So you know the game's called X, and then you know that the game's a side scroll, and you know that's 2D. So now you're like getting down and dirty. And so some people are like, okay, so you can have an opinion on the game at that point in terms of, is it something you're interested in? Is it something you're going to be interested in? Is it something that a MOBA player that only plays MOBAs, or someone who really only plays Minecraft or mobile games, are they going to enjoy this game? Probably not. So their opinion will be like, well, I'm not interested in it. It doesn't mean you have to have an opinion on the game itself, because then you didn't see it. But someone who's interested in the side scroller might go forward and say, well, X sounds interesting. Like for me, X is clearly going to give it to me, and so I want to see more about it, so I watch a video about it. And then I see that it's like really inspired by something I like Ninja Gaiden on the NES. And so I'm like, okay, like my opinion of this game is actually quite high. And then my opinion's a little bit like more niche now. Now it's getting like kind of nittier and grittier and maybe a little more valuable to someone else that likes side scrollers, but won't truly be useful to someone until I've sat down and played the game. And then once I feel the game out for a stage and I play it, I'm like, oh, I still really like it. Well, then that's more valuable than me just looking at it, or me just knowing that it's a side scroller, or me just knowing that the game exists. And then maybe I play it longer, and then maybe I beat it. Well, then like my opinion is pretty much paramount at that point. Consistent with everyone else's who's beaten the game because they've seen the entire game. So I guess what I'm saying is, you don't have to have this situation where it's all or nothing.
Right.
Like you can have, it's like what we go back to with objectivity versus subjectivity in terms of reviews. There's no such thing as an objective review. That's complete nonsense. But there are objective facts about games, and you could have objective opinions about objective facts about games. I mean, that's kind of the way I see it. So when someone tells me that, oh, this game is like Civilization, well, my opinion about the game, not knowing anything else about it except for that Civilization, or maybe seeing a video or whatever, is going to be somewhat high or somewhat optimistic, as opposed to someone saying like, well, this game's more like XCOM, which is a game of strategy. I love turn-based strategy, but but I didn't really like that game. The one, like, I didn't play the old one, but the one that came out on PS3 some years ago. And so that might make me a little more pessimistic about the game. And I think that those are all valid. It's a matter of being honest and open about gauging where your opinion is and like how you're garnering that opinion to make it useful or not useful to someone else. But you shouldn't like hide your own opinions based on, some sort of made up criteria. I do think that the apex of an opinion is having seen the whole thing, just like
First-hand
the apex of an opinion
experience
is listening to a
being
whole
done this.
record or watching a whole movie. I totally agree with that, but I don't think that, because when you look at it, like I play a game sometimes for an hour and I'm like, nah. And that happens often. I hope that happens to everyone, because otherwise, why are you even playing games? You're just playing everything as opposed to playing things that you really love. And I think that's a valid opinion for me to pick up a game and be like, nah, I don't want to play this anymore. Final Fantasy 13 is always a great example of it. I think you can have a valid opinion on that game after 20 hours, even though you don't really see when the game gets good, in quotes, until 40 hours or 35 hours. But that's a valid opinion because you have to spend so much time playing it at that point. I talked about how I reviewed Tales of Exilia 2 after 45 hours, having not beaten it, because I've seen enough. And I think that that's a valid opinion, but I've also spent more time than that before I was comfortable reviewing a game. And so I think you just need to know where you sit. It was the same thing with Fallout 4, where I played it for 25 hours, and I'm like, there's nothing this game can show me that I haven't seen already, except for story. That's it. Like, there's nothing this game has for me anymore. I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying my opinion on this game is pretty set. I like it. I think it's great. I think I'm a little disappointed in some parts of it, and I think that might be valuable to someone out there, but that might not be valuable to someone who wants an opinion from someone who has seen the whole gamut. So I don't know. So that's my opinion. I know it's a little rambling.
It makes sense. No, I like the idea of strata opinion. You know what I mean? And I think what you're talking about makes sense of being open to it. You know what I mean? You're talking about like, when in our game of the year, best of the year or whatever, and we're talking about like, we haven't seen this or that or the other, right? But we're informed enough consumers on most things that we've read or watched a video or whatever from our friends at IGN or GameSpot or whoever, right? And you start pulling together, well, Alexa said this, but then I know Jim Sterling said this, and like you can cobble together an opinion based on the opinions you trust, right? And again, I would present all that if you were asking me about a game that I haven't played. I'd be like, well, I know this person, that person liked it, but this guy didn't. But I usually side with these kind of people, so that's where I go. But obviously, somebody who's played more of it knows more.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a dumb question to begin with, because the opinion thing, right? Like, of course you're allowed to have an opinion. Of course you can have an opinion. But I'm really more talking about like what qualifies this thing of opinion, since we are on this side of the camera. I think that there's a different level of standard, right? And what you just said is absolutely correct. where does that gamut end then? Like, where do you feel it ends in terms of, all right, if you play the game, you play it enough that you understand where it's going, whatever. Do you need to play other games that are similar to be able to compare the two and all of that? Like, where does that line end?
No, because I think this goes to where you can have an opinion about anything you want for any reason. I mean, I don't care. You know, like the thing is that you can have an opinion on a book you never read. You know, like, fine. Like, that doesn't matter to me. What matters is if people know that your opinion is based on you having not read the book, right? Like, that's the biggest difference. A lot, like, I like Ayn Rand, for instance, which is she's a super controversial writer. She's dead now, but she's a super controversial libertarian writer, wrote Atlas Shrugged and whatever. And people come at me a lot because they know I like her and are like, you know, Ayn Rand sucks or blah, 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 because she's like, you know, very unsavory to a lot of people. But yeah, I know that most of the people have never read her. You know, like, I know for I can go up to them and be like, name the two protagonists of what the book's about, and they'd have no fucking idea.
John and Galt.
John Galt's one of the characters, but he's really not
going
one of
to
he's not one of,
Oz, right?
They're not going to Oz, no. They're going somewhere, though.
Oh, this is the one where John Galt's trapped on Mars.
Right, he's trapped on Mars. But I just use it as an example of, like, I could always launch the salvo at these people of like, well, I'm almost positive you never read the book. It's like a 1,500 page book, and I'm positive you never read it. But that's fine. What do I care? You know, and so. You can just know you don't like Ayn Rand because you don't like her for whatever reason, and that's totally fine. And I'm just using that as an example of, you know, portraying an opinion based on what the value of the opinion is to someone else. That's why I always try to tell people, even though people get mad and they're like, "Oh, you don't play an hour or two of games." I'm like, well, I'm just trying to tell you, like, if you should take me seriously or not in terms of what you're looking for in someone's opinion. Mm-hmm. So I used to do that in my reviews a lot too. I used to really try to tell people, like, I played for this long, or this. I spent this much time with it because I think that that's a valuable opinion. I just beat I tried to only beat games once, and when I play games typically on the hardest difficulty level because I like to, if time allows. But when I'd review games at IGN, I would play them on normal difficulty because I was trying to play them in a state of as least frustration as possible, because I know when I play Call of Duty on Veteran, I'm doing it for trophies, and it's actually really fucking annoying. You know, so I never reviewed Call of Duty, but just as an example, what is Call of Duty like, and what is the difference between running through it in 8 hours and running through it in 20? Mm-hmm. And so I think that people just opinions need to be framed in such a way that people have all the information necessary to know if you should take the opinion seriously. So it's not so much, and there's no right answer to that either. Someone might look at me and be like, Colin knows, I know 2D side scrollers really well. I think I know them extremely well. And I can look at a game or just play a game for a little while and tell you if they're mechanically sound or not. But maybe I didn't beat the game or not. But someone out there who knows that might be like, well, that's good enough for me. But someone else out there might be, well, that's not enough. But I have to give them the information to know that or not. And they can see that with my trophies, or they can see that with what we talk about. So
yeah, I think the transparency is the most important part. You know, it's like in any relationship, it's communication. You got to be open and honest with what you're doing. And I feel like the more transparent you are with that, so the more you're like, all right, this is my opinion based on XYZ components. Like, I think that all of a sudden, not that the opinion wasn't valid in the first place, but that's more of, it's a fact at that point. You know what I mean? Like, this is how I feel based on this. And like, that is a statement that is a fact. And I feel like it's interesting when people look at that and they're like, oh, like, that's wrong. It's like, it can't be wrong. It's an opinion, you know? Or it's a fact and it's like, no, it is right because this is how I feel based on this. You know, and looking at a lot of the comments recently, it's like, it's crazy to me that people think that we can't have opinions on game X because we haven't played game Y or we haven't beat game X or whatever. And it's like what you were saying earlier about the reading about it and watching videos and like doing all that stuff. I don't need to do much of that to know what games aren't for me.
Sure.
And I don't need much in the other way to look and be like, that game's for me. I'm gonna fucking like that.
I mean, it's what all comes back to what we're doing with Kind of Funny. You know what I mean? Where Colin always puts it eloquently that he doesn't want to be up a game's ass anymore. It's the fact that we're not trying to be
very eloquent.
Very eloquently. That we're not trying to play everything to say everything. We're playing the games we want to play that we would then talk about. So yeah, when we talk about, like, I think we talked about it in the best of thing, right? Where like I'm like, yeah, these are our games, and none of us have played Undertale. Everyone keeps talking about that. I haven't played it yet. Would love to play it eventually. Not being drawn to it right now. You know what I mean? Same with like Xenoblade Chronicle X, right? Not the exact same thing because I don't want to play Xenoblade Chronicles. I understand it's awesome. Grimecraft loves it. I read about it stuff.
But see, here's the thing about Xenoblade, for instance. I know you hate that game. And that's when you hate
it.
No, but you would hate it because it's not for you. Like, I know your gaming taste, and so I could literally look at that game and be like, no.
Yeah.
No.
And that's
You know,
why I
like,
said
you
it's
don't-
not the same
not
as
for me.
Undertale.
Yeah,
Undertale
yeah.
is something I would like to play, whereas Xenoblade I look at, I'm like, not my kind of game.
Yeah, exactly. And I think Life is Strange is another good example of that. You know, like
Everyone should
going
play that.
into it, it was at a weird point where now you've played and love it, but at that point you hadn't totally played it and finished it and everything. And it's just like, but you just knew that you would like that. And you were right because you know yourself. And people come to you
I know
because
my
you
body.
know
I've
you.
explored it.
And I mean, this is funny, like going back to the relationship shit, like talking about communication, honesty, like the other most important part about a relationship is knowing who you are and knowing what you're putting out there. So it's like, as long as you're genuine to that, it's going to be kind of easy to figure out what you're going to like and what you're going to not. And then the opinion comes on a more, point by point basis of how much do I like it, why, and like all the mechanics and all this stuff, and what don't I like about it, and what could be better, and all that. And that stuff only gets to the point when you are someone that's really hardcore. Like you could talk about Ninja Gaiden forever and like break down all the things you liked and all the things you didn't like. Whereas maybe you couldn't do that about a Call of Duty that you played through and enjoyed very much, but you didn't. Like, you don't know what the fuck the characters' names are, but it doesn't matter because that's not why you like those games.
Yeah, and I mean, and that's the way of breaking it down and compartmentalizing things too. I know shooters, so like I like first-person shooters a lot, and it's a weird, it's a thing that surprised a lot of people. That might be like one of my favorite genres is the first-person, like the single-player first-person shooters. I fucking love shooters, and so on a mechanical level, I can tell you all about it. But yeah, on a story-based level, even though Call of Duty stories should intrigue me because they're very Tom Clancy-esque and future history and all that kind of stuff, it's not what I play those games for necessarily. I play them for the mechanics. So I could talk about the mechanics. So it's about compartmentalizing things too. The bigger thing to me is at the end of the day, and I don't want to say this ineloquently because people obviously care about others' opinions. I read columnists I like about sports or politics. I read, there are some certain game writers like Alexa or Jason over at Kotaku, Alexa being at GameSpot, that I really like. I like reading their stuff, especially, with Alexa really kind of carrying the torch that I, try to light at IGN with like long form content and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, I never waste time being like, your opinion is wrong or your opinion sucks. Like at the end of the day, I don't care that much if someone else has another opinion that's different from mine. I actually really don't care at all. And that's like that's the bigger thing is like, we should have a marketplace of ideas and exchange them and talk about them. But at the end of the day, no one's right or wrong. And I often wonder why people get so hung up on someone else's opinion that they're distraught about it, or they have to leave a rude YouTube comment or a rude tweet or whatever. It's like, it's really not like the Earth's still spinning on its axis and everything's totally fine. If someone doesn't agree with something you say, or doesn't have all the information, or you're bothered by a person maybe not having all the information that you think is the prerequisite that they need, similar to the tweets I get about Ayn Rand sometimes. That's why I brought it up, because I'm like, I don't care. You know, like I didn't like, I just don't care. Like I still like it. And I hope everyone has the fortitude to still like things, even if someone disagrees with their opinion. I think everyone agreeing with each other, having the same opinions is super fucking sterile and boring and Orwellian. And I wouldn't want a situation like that ever to arise. In fact, I want like, I think that my opinion on Bloodborne, having played it for 20 hours, is a valuable opinion to people that might not like Dark Souls or Demon Souls like I didn't, or might not have the time to play the game all the way through, or might want an opinion of someone who kind of came around on the type of game, as opposed to an opinion from someone who's a Dark Souls or Demon Souls veteran who played Bloodborne through several times or whatever. They're not really even speaking to the same people I'm speaking to in a way. So I think that there's in the marketplace of ideas, I think there's like room for different verticals of opinion. It's really just important about framing them properly. I would never come on here, and I never have, and I never will, come on here and be like, Tharsis is awesome, and I played it for 40 hours. That's a lie. I played Tharsis very briefly, and I gave you my very brief opinion on it. But if and when I play Tharsis for 40 hours, maybe I'll have a different opinion, and I'll let you know based on the new framing of the opinion. So it's just a kind of a confusing thing to me, because it's like watching a football game and or just looking at the box score of the football game. You can still have an opinion on the football game knowing only the statistics of what happened. You know that the quarterback played well. His quarterback rating's a 110. He threw only one pick and he had 4 touchdowns. And this guy lost a couple fumbles when he was rushing, so he probably had a pretty down day. And I don't know. You can frame your own opinions without having ever even seen it. And I don't think that's invaluable, I guess is all I'm saying. But you may want to let someone know that you didn't actually watch it.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
No, I mean, that's great. It's a very good summary. Do you have anything else to add?
No.
Good.
Good.
Good.